starts earlier, right? Tell the parents who are listening currently what can they do to promote gender equality.
Yeah, you stop seeing a boy and calling him a small man.
Really?
Stop judging children by adult standards. Why as called she small woman? When you see a girl, why you 30s and you still a smallie? You see, the thing is, I have no problem with the language and its culture and endearment. I love that. But when we judging boys by the adult standards of manhood and even promoting them to do risky behaviors, then we have to rethink that. So parent, that's the first thing. Second, you have to do is listen to your boys.
Listen.
And empower your boys to learn to listen to girls as well. Because that experience is also an experience of childhood in the household. That is important.
But break down that listen for me, because there are two types of listening. Because when you say that, I think in two types of listening. One as in, hey, don't go there, not talk to you, listen. Or you sit down and you try to empathize and understand.
Yes.
So break that up.
I will break it down quickly. It's two kind of listening I really want us to do as a society and institutions where we work, and then listening to people where they are. So when talking about listening directly to it, because boys have a worldview, they have desires. Some want to be dancers and chefs. Some want to be cricketers and engineers. You need to listen to them so they could explore their imagination without judgment, so they could say it safely. That you don't put them into a box or a category when they speak. So we need to learn to listen to our boys. But then you see institutional listening important. So many boys experience sexual abuse. The main thing I hear about, Richie and I work on this. Boys who have those abuses, we have institutional silence, we have family silence, and then that individual or that boy learns to silence himself. The first time my brethren told me I experienced a sexual abuse, you know what I do? Laugh, because I didn't know how to respond. And then I asked him if he liked it. And I never want another boy not know how to respond to a boy who expressed his pain in a classroom. So that is the work. Listening is part of the solution. We need to develop a culture of listening, and there are parenting programs, NGOs, public sector agencies that do that kind of work, and there are also activists you could call anytime that could give you that support.
All right, so stick up in with that, because we want to get that contact information. We want to know who we can talk to, because I know a lot of us who are listening out there, all the parents who are listening, they are probably going through the same thing, and maybe a young boy is listening to us right now, and he may have experienced that sexual abuse and he don't know what to do. So stick up in that. We're coming back to that. And Richie, let me hear your thoughts. How can we, as parents or the listeners, how can we promote gender equality?
So I just want to say, it's not all young persons, young men have parents. Some of them have to go by the guardians, and some of them are led by the persons within the community. So therefore, those are the outliers that we need to reach. But how do we reach these outliers? How do we reach these marginalized young men? We have to create programs throughout government and institutions, as Milka was mentioning. We need to institutionalize it so that we know that they can be targeted specifically in terms of the things that they are missing out from having a parent. They just have a guardian, and the guardian would not know, or a community leader would not know how to actually raise this child to be
deal with it, deal
correct.
with the situation.
The how to say, the more modern issues that these young men are facing, they may not know how to deal with this. The psychological issues, they would not know how to deal with this. So we, and the government in Trinidad and the institutions in Trinidad, and we have persons that volunteer to do these things for free. So we need to get these men, these mentors, I would call them mentor men, that coming out there to talk to these communities and these young men. But we need to firstly find out who are the young men that are marginalized, who are the young men that don't have the parents. So we need to do that, and then once we develop that programs, we could execute.
Because I mean, it may come across as difficult, but if we get all hands on deck,
we have to.
Then
I believe we have to do it.
Fix this.
Because most of the crime and everything, we could solve all of these issues by just creating that cushion for the young men.
So what's the first step? The first step is getting the information, right? So what do you all as advocates plan to do? What can we look out for?
All kind of thing we just do.
All
kind of thing. One of the and I just want to speak to maybe one of the things we do is constructing safe spaces. Safe space is something physical in geography, but something social. The way we relate to each other. One of the things we see boys do is they fed up of the hierarchy, they fed up of that dominance. And my job when I engage another young man is not to tell him how I live my life, but to understand that he has a range of options to make, and I will help them think through what is the best one in their interest.
Yeah.
And I'll expose them to other opportunities. But they also need physical safe spaces where boys not always in competition with each other, but in collaboration.
Yeah.
Where boys don't need to be dominant, but they could have solidarity with each other to understand. And not every boy is a sufferer, but all suffering real. Some boys battling with the body image and the weight. Some boys battling with racism for skin color among the Afro and Indo community in this country. Some boys thinking about their homework and underperforming in schools where the boys are very accelerated or perform at a very high academic level and feel that they're left behind, or they're tired, or we call them a class clown, but they just didn't have a vehicle to communicate things. So we create community spaces. We work with National Family Services in the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Mediation has co-parenting, that is in the Ministry of Sport and Community Development. NGOs like Parenting TT, and a lot of community councils and actors are invested in ensuring boys have safe spaces, and we're here to support it.
And are these